இது வந்து உங்களுக்கு கிடைக்கும். பேங்க்ல உங்களுக்கு சாதாரண ஒரு ஃபிக்ஸட் டெபாசிட்க்கு 7% என்னமோ அவ்வளவுதானே இப்போ. அப்புறம் இதுக்கு சேவிங்ஸ் பேங்க் அக்கவுண்ட்க்கு வந்து இவ்வளவுதான் 4%, 3% தான் அப்படின்னா, பெர் ஆனம் நான் பேசுறது. கண்டிப்பா மியூச்சுவல் ஃபண்டுக்கு வந்து உங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப ஜாஸ்தியாவே கிடைக்கும் ரிட்டர்ன்ஸ். அதுல ஒரு அட்வான்டேஜ் உண்டு. அகைன் மியூச்சுவல் ஃபண்டும் அதே மாரி என்னன்னா, உங்களுக்கு பெர்சன்டேஜ் வந்து ஆனம்க்கு தான் வந்து கால்குலேட் பண்ணுவாங்க. சோ இப்ப நீங்க வந்து உங்களுக்கு 68% கண்ண மூடிட்டு மியூச்சுவல் ஃபண்ட்ல உங்களுக்கு 20% ரிட்டர்ன்ஸ் கண்ண மூடிட்டு கிடைக்கும் உங்களுக்கு. ஓகே. சோ எவ்ளோ பெரிய நிறுவனமா இருந்தாலும், அவங்களோட எவ்ளோ வொர்ஸ்ட் ப்ராடக்ட் அவங்க வச்சிருந்தா வொர்ஸ்ட் ப்ராடக்ட்னா நான் என்ன மீன் பண்றேன்னா, ரொம்ப ரொம்ப ஸ்மால் கேப் சின்ன கம்பெனிஸ்ல எல்லாம் வந்து இன்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணி, அந்த மாரி பண்றாங்க அப்டின்னா கூட, மினிமமா கேரண்டீடா உங்களுக்கு 18% வந்து ரிட்டர்ன்ஸ் உங்களுக்கு கிடைக்கிற மாரி தான், நம்ம இந்தியன் மியூச்சுவல் ஃபண்ட் கிளைமேட் வந்து இருக்குது. இது வந்து நானு ப்ரீ கோவிட் நான் சொல்றேன். இப்ப நீங்க எடுத்துக்காதீங்க நான் சொல்றத. ப்ரீ கோவிட் நான் சொல்றேன். ஓகேவா? இப்ப நெறைய விஷயங்கள் மாறி இருக்கு இல்லையா? எஃப்எம்சிஜி ஃபுல்லா வந்து எஃப்எம்சிஜி அடி வாங்கியிருக்கா? எஃப்எம்சிஜி இம்ப்ரூவ் ஆயிருக்கா? என்ன நெனைக்கிறீங்க? கேன் எனிஒன் ரெஸ்பாண்ட்? எஃப்எம்சிஜினா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் என்ன? ஃபுட் ரிலேட்டட் இண்டஸ்ட்ரி. அதான் எஃப்எம்சிஜி. ஓகேவா? சோ அது அந்த இண்டஸ்ட்ரி வந்து இம்ப்ரூவ் ஆயிருக்கா? இல்லையா? கோவிட்ல என்ன நெனைக்கிறீங்க? எஃப்எம்சிஜி நல்லாவே வந்திருக்கு. என்ன எதெல்லாம் அடி வாங்கும்னா, அந்த பிஸ்ஸா அந்த மாரி ஹோட்டல் பேஸ்ட் பிசினஸ் தான் அடி வாங்குமே ஒழிய, வீட்டுல நீங்க சாஸ் வாங்கி வச்சு சாப்பிட தானே செய்றீங்க. சோ கண்டிப்பா அந்த இண்டஸ்ட்ரிலாம் ஜாஸ்தியா தான் வருது. சோ இப்ப என்ன பண்ணணும்னா, நீங்க வந்து சினாரியோல என்னலாம் வந்து கம்பெனிஸ் பெர்ஃபார்ம் பண்றது, எது பெர்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணலன்னு உங்களால ட்ரேஸ் பண்ண முடிஞ்சா, இது கத்துக்கிற விஷயம் தான். ஒண்ணும் கஷ்டமே இல்ல. உங்களால ட்ரேஸ் பண்ண முடிஞ்சா, நீங்களே டைரக்ட்டா ஸ்டாக் மார்க்கெட்ல ஸ்டாக்ஸ வாங்கி விக்கலாம். சோ இது வந்து 100% லக்ன்னு நான் கண்டிப்பா சொல்ல மாட்டேன். ஆனா, இன்டெலிஜென்ட் இருக்கிறவங்க தான் இத பண்ண முடியும் அப்படின்னு நான் கண்டிப்பா சொல்றேன். ஏன்னா, நீங்க டக்கு டக்குனு நியூஸ பார்த்து, இன்னைக்கு என்ன சினாரியோ அப்படிங்கிறது தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும். 6 மாசத்துக்கு முன்னாடி வந்து அசோக் லேலண்ட் வந்து நல்லா பெர்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தாங்கன்னா, 6 மாசத்துக்கு அப்புறம் இப்போ வந்து எப்படி இருப்பாங்க? நீங்க யோசிச்சு பாருங்க. கோவிட்ல எந்த வெஹிக்கிளும் வந்து ரோட்ல போறது கிடையாது. நெறைய பேர் நிறுத்தி வச்சிருக்காங்க. இன்க்ளூடிங் பஸ். உங்களுக்கே தெரியும் கார 2 நாள் எடுக்கலன்னா என்ன ஆகும்னு. எவ்வளோ நாள் எவ்வளோ பேர் வண்டி எடுக்காம இருப்பாங்க. ஸோ கண்டிப்பா இந்த இது ரிலேட்டடான ஆட்டோமொபைல் செக்மெண்ட் வந்து இப்ப அடி வாங்கும் உங்களுக்கு. ஆனா, கோவிட்லாம் முடிஞ்சு நிலைமை ரிட்டர்ன் ஆகும்போது, ஆட்டோமொபைலுக்கான தேவை ஜாஸ்தி இருக்கும். ஸோ அந்த டைம் அந்த மாதிரி ஸ்டாக்ஸ் நீங்க வாங்கணும். எப்பவுமே ஏறும்போது வாங்கக்கூடாது. லோவா இருக்கும்போது வாங்கணும். இஃப் யூ கேன் ஆன்டிசிபேட் சம் டைம் லேட்டர் இது ஏறும் அப்படிங்கிற ஆன்டிசிபேஷன் இருந்தா, இப்ப அத வாங்கணும். இதெல்லாம் நான் எங்க கத்துக்கிட்டேன் அப்படின்னா, நான் எங்கேயும் டியூஷன் போல, யாரும் எனக்கு சொல்லிக் குடுக்கல. எல்லாமே செல்ஃப் லேர்னிங் தான். உங்களாலயும் முடியும். உங்க வயசுல தான் நானும் இத கத்துக்கிட்டேன். ஃபைனல் இயர்ல இருந்து நான் இத 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 நோக்கி டிராவல் பண்ண ஆரம்பிச்சேன். இட் வாஸ் a 5 to 7 இயர்ஸ் ஜர்னி ஃபார் மீ. எனக்கு குருவா இருந்தது யாருன்னு கெஸ் பண்றீங்களா யாராவது? கண்டிப்பா ஒரு 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 ஹியூமன் கிடையாது. யார்கிட்டயும் நான் பேசல. கேன் எனிஒன் கெஸ் ஹவ் ஐ மேட் ஆல் தீஸ் திங்ஸ்? நாணயம் விகடன்னு ஒரு புக் வருது தெரியுமா? விகடன் இருந்து. அந்த நாணயம் விகடன தான் நான் ரெகுலரா வாங்கி படிச்சு, நானே பண்ணிக்கிட்டு, அதுக்கப்புறமா இதெல்லாம் பண்ண ஆரம்பிச்சேன். ஸோ ஐ கேன் ஈவன் இஃப் எனிஒன் இஸ் இன்ட்ரஸ்டட், ஐ கேன் ஈவன் டேக் அ ஃபுல் செஷன் ஆன் ஹவ் டு மார்க் அலாங் வித் நாணயம் விகடன், ஹவ் டு மார்க் யுவர் ஸ்டாக் ட்ரேடிங் அப்படிங்கிறதெல்லாம் நான் சொல்லி தரேன். அதுக்கப்புறம் நீங்க ஆனா கண்டிப்பா நியூஸ பார்க்கணும். நியூஸ் இல்லாம நீங்க ட்ரேடிங்ல ட்ரேடிங் என்ன ஸ்டாக் பர்ச்சேஸ் பண்ணி விக்கிறதுல கூட நீங்க இறங்க முடியாது. ட்ரேடிங்னா காத்தால வாங்கி நைட் விக்கிறது. ஸ்டாக்ஸ் பர்ச்சேஸ் பண்ணி இது பண்றது அப்படின்னா, நீங்க வந்து இன்னைக்கு வாங்கிட்டு எவ்வளவு நாள் கழிச்சு வேணாலும் நீங்க செல் பண்ணலாம். ஏறும்போது செல் பண்ணலாம். அதுதான் வந்து ஹோல்ட் பண்றது. 2 மோட்லயும் நீங்க வந்து நல்லா ஏர்ன் பண்ணலாம். பட் இதுல என்ன உங்களுக்கு இருக்கணும்னா, நீ கண்டிப்பா நியூஸ் பார்க்கணும். நியூஸ்னா என்னென்ன சேனல் யாராவது சொல்ல முடியுமா? எந்த நியூஸ் சேனல் பார்க்கணும் இதுக்கு? எனிஒன்? இந்த பாலிமர் நியூஸ், இந்த நியூஸ் 7, சத்யம், சன் நியூஸ் இது கிடையாது நியூஸ் சேனல்னா. புரிஞ்சுதா? இது ரிலேட்டடா நீங்க வந்து எந்த சேனல் பார்க்கணும்னா, என்டிடிவி ப்ராஃபிட், ஓகே, ப்ளூம்பர்க், யூடிவி ப்ளூம்பர்க் அது ஒரு வேற லெவல் ஆஃப் சேனல். அத தான் நீங்க பார்க்கணும். அதுல தான் உண்மையான பிக்சர் வந்து உங்களுக்கு தெரியும். பட் அதுல நெறைய நம்ம மிஸ்லீட் ஆகுறதுக்கு நெறைய சான்சஸ் இருக்கு. ஓகேவா? சோ தட் ஐ வில் டெல் சம் டைம் லேட்டர் வென் டைம் பெர்மிட்ஸ். ரிசோர்ஸ் ஜாயின் பண்ணியாச்சா நிர்மல்? Can anyone respond? Resource join பண்ணிட்டாரா? Sir has sent me message. I am signing in போடுறாரு. நீங்க பாருங்க யாராவது. So sir is such a nice person. பயங்கரமா டிராவல் பண்ணிருக்காரு. Let him join logging in அப்படின்னு சொல்றாரு. நீங்க அவர்கிட்ட நிறைய கேள்வி கேளுங்க. அதுதான் எனக்கு தேவை. ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் எல்லாரும் அவர்கிட்ட கேள்வி கேக்குறீங்க. சரியா? அவர் அவ்வளவு ஒரு அருமையான ஒரு பர்சன். உங்கள மாதிரி வந்து ஒரு லெவல்ல இருந்து இப்ப எங்கேயோ போயிருக்காரு அவரு. ஓகே, just waiting for him. பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ் ஒருத்தரா ஜாயின் பண்றீங்க. சார் வந்துட்டாரு. ஹலோ சார், வெல்கம் சார்.
Welcome.
Students, our resource person is here, our beloved Tel Ganesan sir. Session start பண்றதுக்கு முன்னாடி it's very small introduction. Sir is our alumni. இங்க வந்து ரொம்ப சுச்சி பேஸ்ட் சார் ரொம்ப ஃப்ரெண்ட்லி. அண்ட் சாரை வந்து ஒரு தடவை நேர்ல மீட் பண்ணும்போது ஐ நோ ஹூ இஸ் ஹி ரைட் நவ், அது தெரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டு தான் வந்து அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் ஆஸ் அ பர்சன் அவரை வந்து நான் மீட் பண்ணினேன். ஸோ அவரை மீட் பண்ணும்போது அவரை பத்தி சொன்னதுக்கு அவர் யாருன்னு சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க என்கிட்ட, என்னெல்லாம் அவர் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காரு அப்படிலாம் சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க. அப்போ நான் அவரை பத்தி ஒரு வேற மாதிரி ஒரு பிக்சர் எக்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தேன். பட் நேர்ல அவரை பார்த்துட்டு அவர் என்கிட்ட பேசும்போது, சார் லிட்டரலி ஐ டிஸ்க்ளோஸ் திஸ் டு யூ, உங்களுக்கு பின்னாடி நான் பார்த்தேன் வேற யாராவது நிக்கிறாங்களான்னு பார்த்தேன் நானு. பிலீவ் தட் இட் இஸ் யூ, டெல் கணேசன்றது நீங்க தான் அப்படின்னு எனக்கு ஏத்துக்க முடியல. எனக்கு வேற யாரோ இருப்பாங்க போல, இவங்க அவங்க கூட வந்திருப்பாங்க அப்படின்னு உங்களுக்கு பின்னாடி பார்த்தேன். யுவர் சோ சிம்பிள், சோ ஆசம். உங்களுக்கு ஜஸ்ட் பார்த்த உடனே, அதுக்கப்புறம் நீங்க பேச ஆரம்பிச்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் களை கட்டிடுச்சு. I became a fan of you. So
thank you so much.
ஒரு क्वेश्चन சார், செஷன் ஆரம்பிக்கிறதுக்கு முன்னாடியே ஒரு क्वेश्चन இருக்கு எனக்கு.
சொல்லுங்க.
டெல் அப்படிங்கிறதுக்கு என்ன கதை?
டெல் எப்படின்னா, என்னோட ஒரிஜினல் நேம் வந்து திருச்செல்வன். அதுக்கப்புறம் இங்க வந்து யூஎஸ்ல இருக்கும்போது தே ஹேட் வெரி, அதை கூப்பிடுறதுக்கு தே ஹேட் வெரி டிஃபிகல்ட்டி. எப்பயுமே அதை டி ஃபார் டாம், ஹெச் ஃபார் ஹென்ரி, ஐ ஃபார் இந்தியான்னு இந்த மாதிரி சொல்லிட்டே இருப்பேன். அதுக்கப்புறம் மெல் கிப்சனோட நேம் எனக்கு நல்ல ரைமிங்கா இருந்தது. ஸோ என்னோட லாஸ்ட் நேம் கணேசனை வந்து இங்க கேனசன் சொல்லுவாங்க. ஸோ அதனால அதை கம்பைன் பண்ணி திருச்செல்வனை டெல் ஆக்கிட்டேன்.
ஓகே, தமிழ் அங்க சாக வேண்டாம்னு காப்பாத்திருக்கீங்க.
ஆமா.
ஓகே, வெரி நைஸ் சார், வெரி நைஸ். சார், நீங்க ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் ஆர் ரெடி, இன்னும் பார்ட்டிசிபேட்ஸ் ஜாயின் பண்ணிட்டே இருக்காங்க. ஸ்டார்ட் அவர் செஷன் சார். 6:30க்கு இன்னொரு செஷன் இருக்கு போல இருக்கு. So let us not delay, we can start our session sir. நீங்க வந்து just we are expecting your journey. நீங்க எவ்வளவு ஒரு சிம்பிள் ஒரு ஸ்பேஸ்ல இருந்து இவ்வளவு ஒரு பெரிய பிரம்மாண்டமான ஒரு ஸ்பேஸ் நீங்க வந்து எப்படி டிரான்ஸ்ஃபார்ம் ஆனீங்க, what were the difficulties you faced, அதுதான் இப்போ.
சரி.
Over to you sir. Thank you sir.
Yeah, you want me to talk in Tamil or you want me to talk in English?
எப்படினாலும் சரி.
மாத்தி. Okay.
உங்களோட கம்ஃபர்ட்டபிலிட்டி தான்.
சரி. I think the biggest thing I did over the years is I kept on trying and I kept on working hard. So that's really it's truly what I believe, because many things I did not work, and nobody gets to know what did not work. We only get to know what worked. And so that's what I would say for everybody, you know. So if I were to really look at my journey and see, like if I were to take the essence of the journey, that's really the essence of my journey.
நாய்ஸ் கமிங். நியூஸா என்னன்னு தெரியல. ப்ளீஸ் மியூட் யுவர்.
சொல்லுங்க சொல்லுங்க.
இல்ல சார், the noise is over. You can just start your session.
Yeah. So obviously now 84 88 la தான் கிண்டில தான் படிச்சேனா. And so it's a long journey. And I think I always say that whatever I learned in Gindi, it really became the foundation of my life. And because why I say that, because that's the time when you're very, very carefree. You know, you don't have any burden, you don't have any issues, outside issues. It's really you, and you're carefree, and you're forming ideas with a lot of friends. And I think those are the foundational years. But when it is happening, other power we won't realize. And then 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later, then you realize where it's all coming from. It's almost like a seed. Whatever you get seeded, இப்போ ஒரு கோகனட் ட்ரீ வரணும்னா அது கோகனட்டோட இது பண்ணாதானே அது கோகனட் ட்ரீயா வரும். So what that means is that whatever you get seeded is what you will become. So அந்த ஜர்னில பார்க்கும்போது, that's really what I learned. People, obviously, when you are in Anna University College of Engineering, you should be really qualified, and you should be having that level of intelligence to get inside this college, right? So you are already there. So then how do you build your life from there? And how do you take advantage of all this collective intelligence? That's what I call. Most of the time, what I found is that books are books. The same book, same syllabus is available in other colleges. And so the information is the same. What is different is really the kind of people that are your friends, that are all in the same college. And the kind of faculty that you have, and that environment really shapes, is really what I have learned over the years. When you are studying in the college, that part was not very clear to me. But now I come back and see how that College of Engineering, the CEG, has really shaped. Whether it is CEG or IIT, it's the same, but that's the concept. The point I'm trying to drive is that what you already have is good, and you realize it is good, and then you start adding things along with that, and then you keep moving forward and keep trying and working hard. Then you will become successful. But it's a long journey, so you cannot declare success in 1 semester or 1 year or 4 years. But you take what you have, and then you keep doing it, and keep trying, and then so in other words, the other way of describing what my success would be is to see I have not stopped. And if you stop, you fail. If you don't stop, you become successful. It's really that simple. So I hope I answered that question, Dr. Mahalakshmi. So if you want me to talk about another topic, I can. So that's really my answer to your question is about what is the thing that I learned, and why I'm different, and how I am different, and how I'm able to get to the finish.
Okay, so thank you, sir. Our theme today is just meet a startup, but meet a couple of bunch of startups னு பேர் வச்சிருக்கணும். ஏன்னா நீங்க பேசுறீங்க, அதனால meet a startup னு சொன்னது வந்து சரியில்லை தான். So நீங்க உங்களோட first startup, everyone have read your article anyway. அந்த BBC article எல்லாரும் படிச்சிருக்காங்க. ஸோ நீங்க ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்டார்ட் அப் ஆரம்பிச்சதுல இருந்து உங்களோட என்னெல்லாம் டிஃபிகல்டிஸ் ஃபேஸ் பண்ணீங்க அங்க, தென் யூ என்டரிங் இந்தியா, அண்ட் நவ் வேர் யூ ஆர் ஸ்டாண்டிங் அண்ட் வேர் யூ வாண்ட் டு கோ ஃபர்தர், அதுக்கு என்ன பிளான்ஸ் வச்சிருக்கீங்க? ஸோ தட் என்டையர் ஜர்னி வி வாண்ட் டு ஹேவ் a picture.
So you want to have, so you want me to go start with the US journey, or you still want me to talk about India journey?
Both.
So I So I finished my college, and then after I finished Gindi, then the following year I went to US. So initially I went to Oklahoma State University, Stillwater. That's really where I spent one semester. The reason I went there because that's where I got the admission first, and then also I always wanted to be in automotive because automotive is my passion. So the car industries, all of them are in Detroit. So I wanted to come to Detroit, but then I went there to Oklahoma. It's very different. Growing up in Chennai with a lot of people, and when you go there, there is not a lot of people over there in Oklahoma. So, but it's a university town, a very how do I say? It's a very secure town, and that's how I said, wow, the whole America, because we never used to lock our apartment and everything, so that's how safe it was. And then from there, after studying there for a semester, I transferred to Wayne State University. So I went to Detroit. Then and then obviously that place itself, in terms of the weather, it was very different. The place, Oklahoma Stillwater, was very hot during the summer and extremely chilly during the winter, but not a lot of snow. But when I went to Detroit, it was a lot of snow. And and then I went to Wayne State University, and I was living on campus. I used to see a lot of police cars. They call them public safety, and they used to go around. And I said, wow, what is this all about? So it was very scary to begin with, because at that time, Detroit was almost like the murder capital of the US after Washington, D.C. So I said, where did I come and why did I land up in this kind of a place? And that's how I started. It was not the most safe place, but I finished my college over there. And so what I learned was that adaptability is very important, because sometimes you don't have what you want. And the one place that I lived was so secure, and the other place I got was so insecure that you are afraid to leave your place. A lot of gunshots and bullets, flying around in the neighborhood. And then in that neighborhood, there is a secured and protected place, is the campus. So that's how I was there, and then I got used to it. And then I spent years there, and then I moved to. I found a job at Chrysler. And right after my graduation, so I started at Chrysler. And Chrysler, I moved around various areas. Being a mechanical engineer, I moved around in various areas of car manufacturing. What we call, there is one area called dimensional variation analysis. I was there. Then I got into product engineering. So I was in part of the product department. So where we actually responsible for the design of the cars. I was involved in the front part of the car, the hood, the doors, the roof, underbody, so on and so forth. And I also got into manufacturing. They sent me to Japan. I was there in Japan, taking care of the various assembly tools for Chrysler. And then I come back, worked in assembly plant, so moved around. Then I got bored doing the same thing, because every 4 years we launch a car, and then the issues were almost the same. So therefore I was almost bored. And that's when, and then also, like I noted in the article, it was very difficult to move ahead at Chrysler when you are at such a major corporation. And I really wanted to grow, and I couldn't find myself growing a lot more at such a big corporation. And then also I realized it's not what you know, it's who you know matters. I think it happens in India also, but I didn't expect that will happen in the US. So I was restless. And then I said, always I wanted to start the company. So that's how I started. So as noted in the article, so I went and asked my boss. I kept asking, hey, give me promotion. I wanted to, go to the next level, and I was not given that. But then on the other hand, he did assure me that if things were to fail in my entrepreneurial journey, then he would always take me back. So in my back of my mind, that I treated that as an insurance. So, and that with an insurance, it became a no-brainer decision for me. See, in my journey, I went through the corporate world for almost 13 years. Then I started a startup. And if this startup culture and entrepreneurial ecosystem were already there, I would have started from day one. Back then, entrepreneurship was not the So back then, the entrepreneurial thing were not even there. So if you really look at even the parents, the mindset, even in the US, people were not encouraging entrepreneurship. Now, everybody's talking about startup. Everybody's talking about entrepreneurship, which is a good thing. Back in the days, people consider it is like more like a gambling, more like a risk taking. People who cannot get a good jobs can only pursue entrepreneurship. That's how the mindset, even culturally, that's how it was there. Because people say, wow, you're working at Chrysler, great. If you're working at GM, it's great. You're working at Ford Motor Company, it's great. But if you say, I'm working on an idea that's going to become a company, then so what's wrong with this guy? Why can't you find a real job? But now looking back and looking now, and I see how the world has changed and how entrepreneurship is even being encouraged. I'm talking even within America, right? If you compare different parts of the country itself, there is different. East Coast is different, the West Coast is different, middle of the country, it's not as strong as other parts of the country. So then I left, then I started. So I had an idea to develop then working at Chrysler, I always had this idea to start. So I started working on a concept. One of the concept is to put right people on the right job at every single time when we start up the assembly operation. It's a combination of industrial engineering. It's a combination of IT solution. And it's also a combination of what happens in manufacturing. So it's a cross-functional solution. So anytime when you have several departments coming together to really address the issue, it's very difficult to get it accomplished in a big corporation because they're all based on department. Oh, that department is responsible. Oh, this department. Oh, this department. So by the time they figure them out, it never gets done. So that's why I came up with this idea as to, okay, how do we put the right person on the right job for every operation so you don't slow the assembly line. So that's why I worked on. And with that, I started the company. And then that is the product. I have a patent, US patent on that. It's like optimizing in real time workforce in any complex manufacturing operation. And then that by the time it was taking a lot of time. And then I kept working and but that product I piloted it. But I piloted at the wrong time. That's when the economy was going through recession. And even my main customer was Chrysler. So the Chrysler, what happened was because Chrysler also went through bankruptcy. I don't know if you guys all remember 2009, 2010, we went through a major recession. And Chrysler went through bankruptcy. And then also Detroit, the city itself went through bankruptcy. So the product I launched, even though the product was great, even though the product was liked, even though we were doing the pilot, but it was launched in the wrong time. And because it was launched in the wrong time, the product would never take off. So I failed in that startup. Then simultaneously, I was working where to minimize my risk. So I started this IT and engineering services company, and that started to take traction. And then because it was a small company, then everybody would say, much like when you apply for a job, people will say, okay, you don't have experience, you don't have this. So all the bigger companies will say, okay, you got to do this, you got to do that. And so you got to constantly keep proving. So what I did is that to grow the companies, I ended up buying other small companies and then added them together really to grow. And so that's how I started growing the company. So I started with 5 people initially, and then 5 grew to 100, and then eventually we got up to 600 people. So that's really where I ended up with. And so what I learned in the process is that you never know which idea is going to take off. That's why we got to pursue different ideas in our mind. But I think whatever we take on, but we should focus on one thing and take it to the finish line and figure them out whether this will work in the marketplace or not. And then that's like I said, I gave my own example. The product could be great, the application could be great, but the market may not be ready to do it. Even if the market is ready to do, the timing may not be there. Look at iPhone. When Steve Jobs launched it, the timing was so right, but the ideas, all those ideas were already there in different forms prior to Steve Jobs coming up with the iPhone, the smartphone rather. So same thing with me, that one idea on the manufacturing software did not take off, but this IT and engineering services company took off. So I latched onto it. So from there, we kept growing, and then eventually I ran the company until 2017, 18 time frame. Then I got bored. So in 17, I tried to branch off into different areas. So I started Kaiba Innovations, where I'm focusing on building an entrepreneurial ecosystem. It's not more about making the money. It's more about sharing the knowledge, sharing the process that I have learned over the years, and putting them into the system. So that's what I did. And then also I jokingly say that I also got bored. As an entrepreneur, it's very hard for me to keep doing the same thing over and over. I'm always, my mind is very curious. Everything that I see see this with curiosity, and then say, wow, if this person can do this, why not me? So those are the questions I will always keep asking me. And then I got into the movie industry, and I started without any knowledge. I have no experience, no nothing. It's really pure curiosity. How, wow, these guys are doing this. Why can't I do this? Okay, what's the worst thing that will happen? Let me try this and see if this works. And that's how I started making one movie. And then in the movie is also it's a film world, it's a very different world. But then I also realized it's same like manufacturing. That's why I'm able to catch the film industry so quickly, because of my own experience in car manufacturing, and being an engineer, I'm applying that engineering mind in film industry, and they don't have it because most of them are somewhat disorganized, right? So what I mean by that, why is it same? Because in car manufacturing, we have the three important phases: pre-production, production, and post-production. Same thing in film industry, where before you go for shooting, they do pre-production. That's where, okay, this is the story, and they come up with the script, and based on the script, they come up with different characters, all in paper, and then they come up with this. That's what we call pre-production. And same thing happens in auto manufacturing, car manufacturing, where based on a particular design, will that design, the customers will like it, and based on that, the designer will come up with various ideas, and they will come up with a clay model, and based on the clay model, the concept will be shaped, and then they will talk to manufacturing people. So same thing with the film industry, where, okay, will this genre type of movie will the audience like? Has anybody done this before? Why should they come and watch? Yeah, everything. So you put everything in paper even before starting any shooting. And same thing in car manufacturing. Before you start anything, you just put everything on paper. In car industry, we call them paper bill, but in film, we call them script. And then also the shooting plan, breakdown of the script, et cetera, et cetera. So then I said, wow, so this is nothing different. Only thing is that they're all in manufacturing or IT, or the world that I used to work on, is all people are very logical people. They apply logical mind. But in film industry is more creative mind. But people used to tell me that creative people cannot be structured. To a certain extent, yes. But to a certain extent, no. That's where I'm doing things differently in the film industry also. And same thing with the production, and same thing with the car industry, where everything have to be organized, everything have to be planned. So if you plan well, you can, you will have a very efficient production operation, both in terms of manufacturing, both in terms of industrial engineering operations, both in terms of IT, so on and so forth. And same thing applies in a film industry also, where production is very important, because you plan to the minute what kind of scene will happen, who are the actors, and if there is a delay, what happens, because every day you delay, you as a producer, you incur more money. And same thing, in the manufacturing, if the car line were to slow down, every minute matters. So the throughput is so important. And that's how I learned. And then in the post-production, after the cars are, produced, and it goes through testing, etc., a validation, and then it goes through the customer. So making sure that when you assemble, everything is done. So otherwise you don't have defects, then otherwise the customer will come back with warranty problems and all that. So it's very important to produce vehicles with quality. It's very important to catch those issues. Even if you make those mistakes, you catch them before it goes out of the assembly plant, before it goes into the hands of the consumer. And similarly, it happens in the movie industry, right? So you're done with the pre-production, you have a good script, and somebody is funding it, and now you're ready to make the movie. You made all the shooting scenes and everything, and you have the performance of various actors. And then now you go into post-production. So that's when you started mixing everything. Then you come up with a good cut. Okay, everything else we did, then this is what the story is. This is how, this is the footage that we're going to use. We're going to remove all of them. And then you sequence all of them and you put them together. And then you add the music, you add the sound. Then they also add color correction, what we call. And then also special effects, if there are computer graphics or animation involved. And that's also another thing that I learned in my own, in the car manufacturing, where we used to crash vehicles. We call them impact analysis. And so then we used to do a lot of modeling to see how the cars are impacted. So we used to put a lot of targets. Same thing happens in the movie industry, especially in Hollywood, which does a lot of CG work. The targeting is important. So that when it's almost data, right? It's almost data points, and you put the data points into the cloud, and then from those points you generate images, and then you work on those images, and those images again go back into the movie. So then how well you do that, how real you do that is really what creates a difference between a good movie with a good special effects and no special effects. And so since I went through the background, so as I was doing my first movie, everything I was able to relate back to what I learned. And so the only thing that I'm not an actor, but all the other movie making is very similar to what I learned before. So that's why I'm able to go into that industry. And so then I realized it's all just the same thing, but movie industry is more, how do I say, it has high visibility. Everybody talks about a movie industry. And when you work in a car industry, nobody talks about the car industry. To a certain extent, I'm just joking there, but that's really what I learned is that how do you apply what you have and keep going? So that's what keeps me going. So as I see, like I said about curiosity, what I learned in the 13 years working at the car manufacturing, now it is really helping me well in the film industry. And now I'm looking at both Hollywood and Bollywood and Collywood, and see why our people are so fascinated about watching Hollywood movies, and why people in India are not able to enter into the Hollywood, and why they are not able to measure up to that kind of level. Is it because they don't have the talent, or is it because they don't have the opportunity? What is missing? Or is it because the consumers will they accept or not accept? So in that fashion, I'm trying to reinvent and try to disrupt. And so that's what I'm doing. So in other words, I'm also treating, the reason I say all this thing, because in a way, I'm also treating this film industry, as far as I'm concerned, more like a startup operation for me. It's the same thing. I take this idea, I test this idea, and then see if the acceptance is there. And then, and if as soon as I know there is uniqueness in it, then I go for it. So those are the things that I'm doing in that industry. And then also with the COVID, what happened was, right now with all this thing happen, I realized wellness is so important, and the wellness of people. So I believe you become what you eat, you become what you think, and you could be so successful, you could be having a lot of money, but if you don't take care of yourself, what's the purpose of having all of them? And especially in wealthy countries like US, where people have money, but they don't have the peace of mind or the wellness. So I'm trying to incorporate all of them. So I'm having somebody else work on that idea also. Nothing fancy there. So bring some of the the products that we use from plants, and try to use that as it's more like combining Ayurveda, combining yoga, combining meditation, and then really give them a wellness. And I jokingly say that the wellness should not be meant only for celebrities and rich people. Anybody in the comfort of the home, if they really wanted to take care of their health, they can do that. And the way to do that is doing wellness. So that's the kind of another startup I am doing. So like this, so that kind of tells you my where I started and what I have done, and what I wanted to do is the next one I will start, and then we'll leave for questions and answers. So that's really, if you really look at my journey, as I explained, it's more like a startup. It's more like ideas. And the only difference between me and others is that if you really look at it, I took that idea and I took it to the finish line. I did not stop. If halfway through this film business, I said, oh my God, this is so stressful. These guys are unpredictable, all these actors and actresses and all these unpredictable people. I'm not going to work with them. And all these technicians and all coming together is so complicated, I would have given up. But I said, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to start cracking the code, and it happened. And similarly, I'm working on this wellness. I'm putting together this massive supply chain, bringing some products from India, putting some services together, and come up with the marketing process. And how do we tap into wellness, and how do we provide wellness at an affordable price point for everybody, not just for the rich people. So where I wanted to go, so I'm going to keep working, and I'm going to keep doing this until end of my life. That's who I am. So I don't know how to even stop what I started. So I'm going to keep trying, and wherever I can make an impact, I will. So I look at things very simply, right? Is this useful to people? Am I having fun doing this? And then, of course, if the money comes, it's great. But I at this point in life, I'm not putting more emphasis on money. I'm putting more emphasis on whether I can make a difference, whether I can change a human being, whether I can change a life. And if the answer is, and at the same time having fun, then I keep doing it. And then most of the time, what I learned is that when you keep doing things that you enjoy, the money and everything keeps following you. So in other words, you don't go and keep chasing the fruit that coming from a tree. You just make sure you plant the right seed, you put them in the right soil, you water them, making sure that sunlight is there, and then you give some time and you protect and you take care. Automatically, the fruit will come. But from the day you start saying, give me fruit, you will get nothing. All you would get is disappointment. And same thing would apply in a startup ideas, also same thing, right? You got to keep putting your parts in there. You got to put the right process. You got to follow the roadmap of creating a successful startup. And somewhere along the line, the idea doesn't work or it doesn't have the marketplace. You should be courageous enough to pivot that and go into area where you have the traction. And that's what you should do when you encounter that, as I have done in my life. And then so that's really where I wanted to do is more about impact. It's not more about me anymore. It's more about how many people's life I can touch, and how much of an impact I can make. So I try to measure going forward. And then also I wanted to do a lot of things on the foundation side, which because I've been busy with so many things, I'm not able to spend a lot of time. I also have my own foundation where I focus on especially the girls, where to provide them with on-the-job training and employment. And so that's one of the concepts it's called Kaiba Kids Foundation, where we focus on them and we provide them on-the-job training, especially for orphaned ones who doesn't have a lot of parents and everyone. Help them with good communication, help them with providing some skills like computer processing, word processing, also accounting, etc. And then really, these are all people before they come out of the high school, provide them these tools. Even if they don't go to the college, they have this basic skill set that will give them a job that will improve their livelihood. That's one program I started from my hometown, Trichy, but like I said, due to so many things, that never really got scaled. But I did a couple of batches working with the local university, putting them together, and provided the funding, the computers, and I for the trainers to train them. And then, the idea there is to not, because we cannot give fish to everybody every day. But if you teach somebody how to fish, they can fish the rest of their life. And that's really where my thought is on giving back. And that is why I have this foundation, because if everybody's keep on asking, give me, but somebody have to give. So I believe that once you become successful, you have money. So you wanted to improve the humanity, improve the society, and do our part of contributing and giving back to the society. So that's really what I wanted to do. And on that end, giving back. But on the entrepreneurial, I'll be constantly looking for some more ideas, and then we have a couple more ideas that we are working on. The teams are working on to launch various products, software products they are working on. So as it gets comes out of the lab and we cook it well, then we will start releasing them in the marketplace. So in a nutshell, that has been my journey, and so here I am. Starting in a very humble place in Trichy and going through CEG, Gindi, and here, and I keep pushing the envelope and look at life and everything with curiosity, and don't take things for granted, and things will fall in place.
Thank you, sir. It's a very nice journey. Breathtaking journey. கேக்குறதுக்கு எங்களுக்கே மூச்சு நின்னு போச்சு. அவ்வளோ பண்ணிருக்கீங்க. I just need one thing from you, sir.
Yes.
Where you have failed, what made you to fail in a startup, and how you had come across that emotionally as well as financially.
Yes. I mean, the one I talked about, it's called MUIS, Manpower Utilization Improvement System. That is the first one that I started. I spent a lot of money on that. Financially, I almost got broke, and it almost ruined my life. And so because I'm starting very early on, so I lost almost $1 million developing the product back then. And then it took almost 3 years for me to come out of the crisis. And the good thing that I had at the time was I had another company that was producing revenue, and I was able to come out of that crisis well. If I didn't have that, I would have, you wouldn't be listening my speech, because I would be nobody, right? I'll be on the other side. Like I said, those failures
You would still be our alumnus, sir. Irrespective of that.
No, I'm just okay. So what I'm saying that really emotionally it affected me so much, and it also makes you feel insecure, right? Wow, am I a loser? Oh, I failed. Oh, I don't know how to do it. I'll never come back. So a lot of things goes into your mind when you're faced with a failure. So what I came after so much of time, I came to the realization, I tell Ganesan as a person is not a failure. that idea was a failure at that time. And I was able to detach them, separate them from the failure itself, from myself. And that allowed me to keep going and keep trying. And many people, what I see today with all youngsters, they associate themselves to failure. See, then it is a problem, right? So that is the biggest problem that people are not able to understand. The ideas can fail, but you cannot fail and you won't fail. I know it is a very simple concept, but somehow in the journey, people combine them both, and even the society to a certain extent call them as a failure. And like I said, look at Thomas Alva Edison. Look at so many guys. I think the Aurangzeb is the ruler. Look how many times that they all tried and tried and tried, and so what taught me in that failure is that to have some humility. We are not all God. We cannot be right all the time. So probably those failures taught me to be humble and grounded, because I don't know when I will fail next time. What is the point in calling myself a hero for some small time? And then you realize after a few years, you become a zero.
Great.
So what I realize is that you will become hero sometime, you will become zero at some time, again you'll become hero, again you become zero. That's how life will be, both personally and professionally. We will go through ups and downs. It's like a hot and cold, sun and the moon, and we should not get tied to that. And we should accept that as a process, and take them the same way you would do everything, both success and failure, because it's part of it. And that is why I don't react. So that's why I became humble, because I got beaten up so much. So because sometimes you don't know, and so why do you have to have ego and have to have a lot of head weight and all that? And so I realized that this is just a journey. In that journey, several things can happen, and so that's how I came out of it. So emotionally, I use these kind of inner strength to detach the actual failure of the idea into my own failure. And I think that allowed me to become more bold, more confident, and more secure going into the next projects.
How did you convince your family, your wife, during those times? That's a very challenging one, right?
I know. It's very hard. It's very hard, because what happens is I come from a middle class background, right? So my parents and my mom and all that, for them, entrepreneurship is gambling. They think it's a high-end gambling is really what in their mind, everything has to be government, because my father is a government employee, so you work there. But if you're not working for the government, it's not a real job, right? So for him, this is like a very crazy idea that somebody leaves a very good paying job, free car, well settled, good pension, everything, and to give that away, go to the street and then really struggle. He said, wow, why this is so stupid. So they're all very nervous and stressed out. And it's very hard to convince them, because they cannot understand that. And then the society also makes it crazy. Wow, we know that. As soon as I failed in the first area, we knew this will not work. You see what I'm saying? Instead of encouraging, oh, you keep trying. No, we know. But you only did not listen to us. You went ahead and you failed. You see, we told you. So with that kind of noise coming in the background and you keep hearing it, so you really need to have a lot of mental strength. And if you don't have the mental strength, then people run away from these kind of, But people who, so sometimes I say you got to be crazy enough to doing these kind of things, because those crazy ones are the one who's going to be extremely successful, because I believe in my idea, I believe in myself, and I kept pushing and pushing and pushing, regardless of the negative news, information, and coming from the people that are so near and dear to you. Nothing wrong with them. It's not, they're all nice people. They want you to do well, but from their vantage point, that's all they know, because they never did any startups. They don't understand the process of startups. So for them, everything has to be secure, right? So even if you had to go and eat a goat, they will say, buy a government goat. I used to jokingly say, that's their mentality. Their mentality, everything is government. I mean, back in the days. I think even now, to a certain extent, it is true, right? Look at even when even the young people are now getting married, the parents, wow, where is he working? Oh, he's working in TCS. Oh, he's working in Cognizant. Oh, he's working over there. Wow, he has a good job. Maybe we should, our girl should get married to this boy. Okay. If somebody says, no, he's working on a very fancy idea, how much money he's making? No, he's actually asking for money. Why are we talking to that guy? So even now that in a society, it happens that way. So now people are not motivated. So people in their mind, oh, I'm giving my daughter to this loser who doesn't have money. What's going on? So culturally, the society has to go through that sort of a transformation and accept more entrepreneurs and accept entrepreneurship as a profession. Until such time happens, I think it's slowly happening, not nearly the level that needs to happen, but I think we got to keep pushing, and soon, and then when they realize, wow, entrepreneurs really become millionaires, then the mindset of the society will change, because society always take a lot of time to catch up with these kind of things.
Yeah, great, great. Very nice reply, sir. Very nice, great insights. Actually, you are actually it was awesome. One personal question I have, and
Sure.
then we will start taking audience questions. Students, please type your questions in the chat box. We'll take it up with sir, or you can unmute yourself and ask sir directly. Sir, my question is regarding your film movie. You have done so many, produced so many movies, and you are facing this lockdown, right? So you might not have got the real success of the situation as if it is otherwise. Nowadays, due to lockdown, your business might have been stalled, right? This movie revenue, all those things you have
Yes,
anticipated
yes.
for something 2 3 years ago, and you have started on this project, and now it is not that situation. So how did you take this? Do you consider this as a failure, and what is your plan? Because lockdown is not going. This scenario is not going to end next month or next month. It's going to continue with our life at least for 5 years.
Mm,
So,
mm, mm, mm.
worldwide. So how do you take this into that business?
So no, I don't see as a failure, because what we are doing, as we are looking at, we are now, as you see in the movie film industry, it's US is already going digital. It's been going digital for a long time. So now what we are saying is that instead of doing some theatrical, we are now looking more digital. And I'm planning to release all my movies digitally and not even go through the theatrical route. And in my case, because I'm only making English movies, the market is huge, right? So it goes all around the world. And so I'm able to go after a population of a bigger population than what you would typically see in a Hindi movie or a Tamil movie or a Telugu movie, where the target population is much less. So I am going digital on that. All of them I plan to release in this year itself. Eventually, I wanted to wait and do some theatrical run. So I got into, I myself facing that crisis, but I'm also changing my business model to match that. And I'm also talking to people in Hollywood and to see what they are doing. And I think we have a plan to come out of it. I think it's to me it's a blessing. So I'm gonna come up with different revenue streams, and then shy away from theatrical for a very long time. Probably the idea of going to theaters itself will be so dramatically changed in the years to come. And so that itself, as you can see, even in India, theaters are getting shut down. Uh, and people all want to have the digital experience. Already OTT is there, but even the US is even a lot more. So I'm shifting towards that. So what that means is that I should not produce high budget movies. Try to come up with a low budget movie, make an impact, make it more unique, make it more compelling. Don't do the same masala. Come up with something. So those are the things that I'm working on. So again, like we have to reformat ourselves and reposition, and that's what I'm working on. And I think I'm very confident that we will get through this crisis. So I always believe setbacks are good. Setbacks, not to the setback that we all witness throughout the world, but and with this setback comes new opportunities, new ways of thinking that we would not have thought otherwise. I usually say that necessity is the mother of invention. And so, and now I call necessity is the mother of innovation. So we have to get through it, and we are getting through it. So I see bright spots, silver lining on the horizon.
Okay. So there was a question from the student audience in the previous webinar. Many youngsters now are realizing that their travel needs to be towards entrepreneurship. But how do they convince their parents? That is the greatest difficulty they are facing. So once they come out of that shell, I think they will flourish. So many people, many students who are willing often have this problem. So they come and tell us, my father would not agree. I would love to do. My father would not agree. So at this young age, how do they have a balance of doing both, convincing them and again not leaving their aspirations?
See, the problem is that even my parents, I think I jokingly said, my father did the amazing thing for me. You know what? He did not do anything in my career. He left me alone. He didn't know any better. So that was the biggest thing he did for me. See, even in the US, they still do that. We call them helicopter parents because they keep hovering around the kids. See, there is a two difference, right? So the way my advice to youngsters, because this question keeps coming again and again, I think we should compartmentalize. And there are two different thoughts. The love for the parents, that they are being a parent, is one thing. And you still love them as a parent and for what they have done for your life. And what you're doing for your career is your journey. That is not your parents' journey. And we somehow think that those two things are combined together. Your love for your parents on one hand, on a personal side. How is this related to your career? How is this related to your passion? How is it related to your own life? Are completely two different tracks. It's almost a parallel track. But somehow we think that is serious and they're all connected. And that's where the confusion comes. And parents also try to impose that, because imposing that on the children, they feel that they are empowered. But I think actually that is a false empowerment that parents have in the current society. I mean, India, it happens so much. I would say majority of them, it happens. Some parents are more, aware and they leave people alone. And even to the US, that's why we have this new lingo we call helicoptering. They come back, oh, how much grade he got? How much did he do? Say, they suffocate the kids by their love. Love should be offered in home. Love should be offered, when the setback is happening. But they shouldn't be shaping somebody's passion, because passion is your passion. It is your life. It is your journey. They could be parents, but they cannot be deciding your journey, right? You have to decide, because you will face these situations on your own, not parents. After 5 years, after 10 years, no parent is coming and saying what's happening. Certainly my parents are not, my dad passed away, but they will not be coming and telling all these things, what we'll do at this point in life. I have to figure out my own journey, right? So you have to be aware of that. So it is a challenge, but I think talking to them and based on splitting those into different areas and say, look, I still love you, I still like you, I still thank you, I'm still grateful for whatever you have done as a parent, but you have to allow me and thank me and then allow me to grow. So that way, I keep growing and flourishing in that area. What is the point in seeding everything and putting everything and then covering it on top of it and not allowing it to grow? Is how I visualize some of the parents doing to the growth of the kids. Sometimes what they think is a love, it turns into some poison, and it suffocates the growth of them. Otherwise, a lot of flourishing people would have flourished if not for the false love applied in the wrong area, is how I look at it. So I think talking to them and explaining to them and separating them would be is all I can suggest, because your parents, you only have a better idea where they are coming from. And again, you have to look at their experience in life, where they are coming from, whether they are coming from lower income family, middle class, upper middle class, and they have a lot of variations, and society also tells them certain things. So it's very hard to break away from that kind of a mold, but people do that, and people who successfully do that become successful. And my simple advice is to separate love and separate career as two independent activities, but not as one.
Okay. Sir, can you just refer on those racism stuff which you have, which was there in the news article? You were telling that there was a issue happening and people were ignoring you for various
Yes.
reasons, and
Yeah.
you purchase a company. And
Yeah.
that,
I mean, yeah. I mean, US is a very complex country, right? It's a very complex country, and I call them it's a land of immigrants. Obviously, the land belonged to the Indians. I mean, not our Indians, but the native Indians. We used to call red Indians. They are the real owners of America, not the whites, not the blacks. And whites came along, and they all from immigrants from different parts of the world. And then obviously, back through the slave, they bought some Africans from African countries to do some hard labor. And then the new country was founded, and then the strength of the country is really based on diversity, based on different people, bright people coming from different parts of the world. They come together, much like Bangalore, right? If you really look at Bangalore compared to other cities, Bangalore is so thriving because it's a truly a multicultural society in Bangalore. And that is why Bangalore is so different than any other city in India. Same thing in America is so different country than rest of the country because different people come together. That concoction, that masala is what the secret sauce of America. But what happens is that then the whites start to think, because they are the majority, they think that it belongs to them and everybody is coming and taking away the opportunity, and so on and so forth. So of course, Indians have been going to the US since the late 80s, I would say, in more numbers, and then it accelerated in 90s and 2000, etc. I mean, I would not say that the discrimination I'm talking about is that if you are brown, are you getting the same opportunity as a white person? The answer is no, because whites like to promote people. That's what I meant. If you have everything being equal, and if you are a white person, then your promotion, your advancement jumps up. But if you are hardworking and if you can really do well, you can still have a good living. You can still survive in America. But the point I was trying to make is that all being equal, does it still being equal for regardless of the color? The answer is no, because in business, I think even in India it happens. It's not what you know, who you know. In India we have corruption. In America we don't have corruption at this level. So therefore they apply these kind of things. And even at Chrysler, I knew that several people who are not qualified, they don't have the experience, they don't have the intelligence, but they kept promoting me. And every time I keep asking, they will always give me some reasons. Oh, you have to go and get this experience. Okay, you go for 4 years. Oh, you have to go to Japan. And we come back from Japan, we will offer that. And the problem is that when I come back, the boss would have changed. So then the new boss will come and say, oh, I don't know much about you. You have to do this for me. So you keep on doing these things for people. And the people also keep changing. And then you lose time. And then 10 years is gone. And that's what I wrote in that article, that it does happen. It's not sort of systemic, but it's already, it's there. So that's really what I felt. And that's one of the reasons when I felt that strongly, that if I go and do things on my own, all these things will go away. Then I decide my own fate, if you will. But also you take a lot of risk, and the reward is also there. Now I don't have to worry about racism, because whatever I wanted to do, I will do it. And now, and then also after you go to a certain level, you reach a financial level, all this thing goes away. Now, whether it is white, brown, black, green, all of them come to me because they know I give a lot of opportunities, employment opportunities for them. See, now the barriers have gone. But until you become that point, you are constrained with those barriers. And that's really what I talked about, some sort of racial inequality, Even whites are getting paid more, especially white men are getting paid more than women. So all those things exist in the society, and we still have a long way to go. And that is why you could see it's almost like a movement coming out of this crisis with the George Floyd, because it was already there in the minds of the people. It just found its perfect time for them to manifest those frustrations. And that's what happened. So I did face it, and I have overcome it now. But I think when I was when I was a young engineer trying to come out of it, it was hard. But I kept trying and trying and trying. And I always used to wonder, why I have to work 2 or 3 times harder than a white person. And so those were some of my frustrations. It was not equal.
What did you do to take care of your health during those stressful times? You did yoga or meditation, or what you practiced?
Yeah. So I believe in yoga. I believe in meditation. And I try to have some hobbies. So I try to do new things. And so I read a lot. I play tennis. I'm active. I spend time in water. I spend some time in nature. So different ideas come when I go there. But most importantly, I do yoga every day. I also meditate every day. And when I meditate, it calms my mind. And then it gives me clarity. And with clarity, confusion is minimized and stress is minimized. Do I have stress? Yes, I do. But I think I have the mechanism to deal stress properly by following these kind of things. And then I also watch what I eat. I don't eat a lot of junk food. I try to minimize. Most of the time I eat vegetarian food. And so that really allows me to be light. And as I said before, in the wellness thing, you become what you eat, right? So whatever you eat, it has its impact in you. And then whatever you think, if you put positive ideas in your head, you become positive. And if you think you want to be a happy person, you're happy. And so I try to put those things in there, and those things help me to deal with stress more effectively than a person who doesn't have all of them and they get really, really stressed out.
Sir, are you a religious person?
I'm not a religious person. I'm more of a spiritual person. I believe religions are man-made. And if you really look at the history, all religions to me say the same thing, whether it is Hinduism, whether it is Muslim, whether it is Christianity. At its roots, it's all says the same thing. They all say the same thing, but in different ways. But all the people for their own power struggle, they have created a religion that was long time ago, and they still try to divide people by religion. But I think one thing that I learned through this COVID is that it really told all of us that there is no religion. No religion got got away from COVID. The virus equalized all of us. And it also told us that we are one humanity, one human race fighting this enemy. And there is no race there. There is no color there. There is no country. There is no rich or poor. All are the same. And and in that moment, I always realize that religions are made up. And so I don't subscribe to any religion, even though I was a born Hindu. I treat all of human beings as the same. I focus more on humanity. I'm more focused. So I would call myself more of a spiritual person as opposed to a religious person.
Thank you, sir. Students, do you have any questions? You can just unmute and talk to sir.
Hi, sir.
Yes.
Sir, how do you select a candidate, sir? What do you expect from the students, sir?
How do I, what?
How do you select a candidate, sir?
Candidate for what? For employment?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it changed over the years, right? So when I was young, I used to have different ideas. But now I realize more than anything else, I really look for somebody who's hungry. They should be hungry. I mean, literally hungry, but hunger for growth. They got to have fire in the belly. They have to have passion. And even if they don't have the right education, I think to me, those skills are a lot more important than education. But for a long time, I used to think education is so important. I still do, but I think what is really important is that drive, that hunger is really what I'm looking for, because hunger, I cannot go and teach some person, because if somebody say, oh, I got this job, I got this, I'm happy, I'm having good food, I'm able to buy a car, I'm able to buy a home, I'm happy. And so they don't want to take those extra steps. But for an entrepreneur, somebody like a startup, you got to have that hunger. You should not be even able to sleep. Even in the middle of the night, these ideas should be going in your back of your mind. But and you get enthused every morning when you wake up to work on this idea and take them to the finish line. So I'm looking for those people. That's the kind of people that I wanted to spend time lately. And because what happens is that when I spend time with people, especially youngsters, I also my intelligence also gets sharpened. So that's why I hang out with a lot of students and younger crowd more than people in my group, because I draw so much of energy from them, and even my mental strength is also getting sharpened, and even my curiosity is also awakened. And so that's the kind of people which I wanted to hire, is really people with more of a drive versus education. So I would pick the drive.
Thank you, sir.
Students, do you have any other questions? Vimal Raj, hello sir, you said that tried again and again. What is that? You just gone.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a question in chat. Hello sir, you said that tried again and again to be successful, but sir, if we fail in production or export from the first time, we lose more money. How to overcome that?
Yeah. So how do you overcome that? You don't go spend a lot of money. You trial and then make sure that you have a paying customer. I don't know what that exact business is, but you don't put the whole thing on the line. And once you trial it and then making sure the traction is there, then you try to scale it in small ways. And then if that works, then you try to scale. Because if you try to put all eggs in your basket and try to fail, then you may fail very quickly, and then you will run out of gas. I mean, you will run out of money, you run out of fuel. And so you got to make sure that that is also taken care. So I don't know what the actual product is. I'm not able to comment exactly what they will do, but you don't burn all the cash, because as a startup, your burn rate is very important. So making sure that your burn rate is it can be tolerated.
Sir, there's another question. Having started one startup and exploring more on different parameters of different startups, don't you think it will reduce the concentration on your first startup or previous startups? So how do you balance time either, or what is your opinion on this?
Yeah, so it depends, right? In my case, I have teams, right? So I myself are not, I mean, I'll address both ways, one from my standpoint and for somebody else, right? So you see, in my case, I have teams to work on. So I come up with these ideas, I assign one idea to some other team, so they work on. So, and then also I have some financial backing. So even if I fail, it doesn't matter. So I'll think like it's like a experimentation or like a change, change, okay? So I can get away. But you're right. But if a person is working on one idea and you see the traction, then you should really sink your teeth into it and take it all the way to the finish line. But if you are exploring and you have not decided which idea to work on, it is okay to look at multiple ideas to see which idea really gets you going. But once you get going and you study it and then say, wow, I see the market potential there, it's an unmet need, I must work on it, I'm also passionate about it, then you must go into that one and take it to the final course and then keep pivoting until you become successful. but it is not okay for an youngster to start off with it. And then, while you're working on the traction, again, you go back and keep chasing different ideas, then it is not okay because it will dilute your efforts and it will lead to more frustration than success. I think to that extent, once you play around with many ideas and you pick one, you keep drilling it down, and focus is very important very early on. So from my standpoint, I say all these things, but when you start off with, you don't start off with many things going on in parallel basis. Only what you would do is to making sure your burn rate is properly maintained. But before you jump onto an idea, yes, pursuing multiple ideas, I should say evaluating multiple ideas is okay, right? For example, let's even take the college as an analogy. When you try to go into a good college, you apply to many colleges, so you should, right? But once you go into one college, you should only study whatever syllabus in that college. You cannot be studying syllabuses of multiple colleges because you'll never pass the exam, right? And that same concept applies into startup. Evaluate more, but focus on one.
Okay.
Hope I answered that question?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because I keep getting this reply from students who are who have very great potential, and they say, "Ma'am, I have two different ideas. You know, scale பண்றதுக்கு வந்து I have very great support also. So which should I perform? I want to perform both." So I keep getting all these suggestions. So I just wanted you to have a
comment on it. Yes, that's my thought. That's my thought process on that.
Sir, would you be interested to fund any of our student startups? We have already 10 student startups in the production stage, so they are entering the market. So it's a 1-year journey for us in CED to identify them and fine tune them and to bring to this level. And the audience you are addressing is mechanical engineering students who have an idea to pursue entrepreneurship. But right now, my question is related to all the incubators who are already there in our CED incubator study. So there are 10 students approximately with prototype stage or production stage. So would you be interested to listen to any of those ideas at your convenient time?
Yes,
to help them scale it up to next level.
Yeah, please send them to me. Then whatever is of interest to me, I will look at it. I'll come back. Yes, answer.
They're planning an investor pitch kind of thing, sir. So at your convenient time, we'll host that. And if you can participate in that and give your suggestions, it would be nice. This is the first of its kind we are trying to do in CEG.
Okay.
So I just have a thought process on that. So we'll discuss with the other authorities and get back to you on this. We just want you to be on board to help
I'll be more than happy to do it. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for this lecture. Students, do you have any other questions? Kindly come to chat box. Sir, skills for employability before and after COVID are same. What are the additional skills needed after COVID? You mean skills for employment or skills for entrepreneurship?
I think the skills is almost the same. Only thing that the only new skill that you need to have is that you improve your immunity. That's a new skill you got to have.
Immunity, yeah. Improve your immunity. Don't watch TV news.
Exactly. So that's a new skill everyone should have, because if you watch the same news, you'll get sick. Okay. So you may not get sick on your own, but with the news, you'll become sick. Number one. Number two, take care of immunity, because when everything goes wrong, only thing that's going to save you is your immunity, not your skill set. So take care of your health and be more aware of the wellness, and take care of your mind. And that's what we are finding. People with immunity are able to survive. People with no immunity are not able to survive, and not immunity because they have diabetes, heart conditions, all that because they are not taking care of the body. So the new skill that you must have post-COVID is really take care of your body, take care of your health, because health is the real wealth.
So post-COVID, what do you think? I mean, I'm keeping the question on your startup itself. Post-COVID, whether movie industry or food industry, which will flourish more?
I think I think in the post-COVID, I think the movie industry is already flourishing in the digital because they're able to stream. A lot of people are streaming movies these days because they are sitting at home, they have nothing else to do, no entertainment. So they made boatload of money, and I didn't realize this COVID is coming. Otherwise, my movies would have been ready, I would have released. So for some, and look at Amazon, they made a lot of money. Look at a lot of healthcare companies. Look at a lot of technology companies. They're not able to keep up with their ideas. So yes, some people got impacted, but some people made a lot of money during this COVID process. You see, and so the idea there would be, you don't know when these things will come, but you better be prepared. But the concept is all the same, right? You study the situation and see what the unmet need is. What is your strength? How can you modify and be flexible and adaptable is really what you need to do. So the biggest skill that we learned during this crisis is really how flexible are we and how adaptable are we to these emerging situations, and then respond accordingly. Is nothing but our theory of evolution, right? The strongest is going to survive. And same thing is whoever is flexible and adaptable with their ideas and their businesses and able to modify them depending on the market environment are the ones who's going to succeed. And whoever is not able to make the change, they're going to fail. And that's what we learned during this process. And so the biggest skill that one always should have is that. But nobody thought this would come. I never thought in my lifetime, I never witnessed one. Probably, I hope I only witnessed one like this in my lifetime. But I think this is a lesson for the generations to come, is to continue to be flexible, adaptable, which we know in theory, but for the first time I'm learning in practice that how important that is for a business and for a person to come out of this crisis.
There is one last question from
Yes.
Maithili, a student. Sir, we get lots of ideas, but we aren't implementing those ideas. Can you suggest what we have to overcome to start?
So yeah, that's an excellent question. And I think I'll answer it this way, right? So everybody has everything, right? So they all think I can do this, do that, do that. And ultimately what happens, what we see is, I call them as more like a Venn diagram, right? So you have your core strength. So you have to know who you are and what you are really good at it, right? Are you a person who's good at coming up with ideas? Are you a person you're good at executing it? What is that you are good at? Then equally, what is important is that do you have a team to make it happen? That's another component that you need to. You have a like-minded person or somebody that you can partner with to make that happen. And third is really more about the market. Is the market ready for it? Is it an unmet need in the market? And will the market be willing to accept this kind of product or service, right? And then you sort of intersect them. You intersect the needs and the unmet needs of the market along with your strength. And you see, and you evaluate your ideas based on that criteria. You would see only one or two will really bubble. The strongest one is what bubble up. Other one will fall off. The second one say, yeah, that idea, I don't know whether it is artificial intelligence or IoT or analytics. And if you're an analytical person, I'm just saying as an example, whichever area you wanted to pursue, making sure that A, you have the strength, and B, you have passion, and B, C, you have the drive to turn that into an idea, and then compare them to the other product and how this product compares to that one, and then make the determination, because then you will find the answer to your questions by doing such a comparative analysis, comparing yourself. That's really what you need to do against. So it's a comparison of your strength versus the market potential. That's really how you make the call. So for example, let me take my own example, like film industry. So I was always, as I said in that article, I was always fascinated when I was growing up a kid. Back then we used to stand in the queue and all that to go to the other movie, other show. So I always used to get, wow, how are these guys making the movie? I mean, they must be super, super rich. Wow, because, so I always had that thing in there. But then when the opportunity presented itself, I was able to, because I had the passion, I had the drive, and I didn't have the strength. But then over the years, I've gotten that experience. I was able to jump in and make a difference in that space. So similarly, at a very young age, when you don't have all that visibility, the only visibility that you have is your own strength. And that should be the guiding force to decide which product you must jump on.
Sir, we have one last request from one student, Ashwin. Ashwin, please be
Yes,
fast.
sir. Yes, sir. It's been a great day actually to have you on board to share your thoughts and your experience. And I have two questions for you, sir. And the first thing is that I would like to peek into your business resume, the tips and tricks, what you use on your daily routine, like during your working days to improve your production that you have learned out of your like many years of experience. And my second question is, to what things do you attribute your success to?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I like you already. You know why? Because my son's name is also Ashwin.
I just saw it on LinkedIn, sir.
So I give you extra points for that, number one. Number two, what I believe, I still follow the same old adage that you have heard, is that, getting up early in the morning. So I rise very early in the morning. Around 5:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30. Sometimes, when I have yoga class at 6 o'clock, I go to the yoga class. And because of the COVID, they have stopped the class. So then 7:30, 8 o'clock, I have come and have my breakfast. And then 9 o'clock or so, I've done my yoga, I've done my meditation. I'm already energized. I'm already happy. I'm already excited, ready to take on the world. And obviously, I'm at this level and probably I'm able to do that. But I think whether you're able to go and take classes or not, still you could do certain activity. So basically, you are awakening your senses, making sure that you're already aware. And back in the days, I used to eat a lot, but now I think as I find that I eat somewhat light, about 80% of the capacity, and then 20% I don't eat a whole lot. And even now I realize that even eating itself, I'm trying to pay more attention. I'm trying to eat very slow and enjoy whatever I'm doing. So what I tried to do before, I used to be very hurried, everything so fast, this and that. So that's what I do. And then I try to prioritize the day. And then, okay, what are the top 3 things that I must do today? So I only focus on those 3 things. And if I finish those 3 things, I'm happy. Then I don't try to overload and try to go into constantly working it affects. So I look at, okay, these are my priority. And then before I used to eat lunch all at the table and everything in my own. Now I try to go outside, eat with people, so on and so forth. I do that. And then every day I try to read a new quote, a new thing that opens up my mind. And then I do add some new words to my vocabulary every single day. So I have a card that I utilize. I started when I was studying for GRE and TOEFL, and I still follow that to improve your vocabulary, because communication is everything. And then I try to improve upon myself. So what I do on a daily basis is really what I call what I call is a lifelong learning. I call L3 is the acronym that I use. So in that lifelong learning process, what I try to do is that, one, what are the things I must continue to improve upon, my health, right? By eating right, exercising right, so which I do that. And then from a career standpoint, communication is very important. How do I keep improving on a daily basis, right? So I keep adding things on a daily basis, like the words I gave you as an example, 5 words that I add to my vocabulary every single day. And then if you do that on a yearly basis, you see how many words you have gotten over the years. Then I also add these codes and everything. So I keep putting those notes in there. And I think these days you have a lot of apps you can track through app if you can. Back in the day, we never had app. So I had a card, and I still write it, in my hand, and I put them in there in my drawer. I still follow that. And then, as I end the day, I remain grateful for what the day has offered to me. I count and thank all the blessings I have received. I always go back to my beginnings, where I started, and every day is a blessing, and everything that I do is a blessing. And then I continue to remain grounded, because none of it belongs to us, right? We are just in this world very temporarily. It's all temporary things, but we think we think that we own everything, and so that's what I try to do. Sort of, I talked about earlier, from a spiritual side, I add those elements into my head. But from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I'm still very hungry there. I'm still curious. I'm with intensity. I pursue those ideas. But on the other hand, I also try to. So I try to balance as much as I can, given my schedule. I try to visit new places. Whenever I go to new places, new cities, new ideas come to me, because different environment changes my thought process. And especially with surrounding with like-minded people, it also changes my thought process. So I try to do all of them. I read, I blog, I play. I try to do different things, because different things. What I learned is that the human mind is always looking for new things, because everything becomes the same to the human mind after 3-4 months. So how do you keep your brain alert and keep going, and make it more flexible? And so more neurons firing is really to be alert and doing new things, and that's what I do on a daily basis to keep it going. I hope I answered that question. What is the other question you asked?
And the other question is that, to what things do you attribute your success to, sir?
Yes. What thing so the other thing I attribute to the success is really, I call SPD, is the acronym that I use. So as you listen to me, SPD is nothing but S stands for structure, P stands for process, and D stands for discipline. As you can see, I laid out in my daily routine, I have a structure. I follow the structure. We are all creatures of habits. So we got to form habits, and then I have a process, right? So if I were to even add my words and dictionary, add my own lexicon, I have a process I utilize. So I have a structural, structure in a sense, it's not so rock solid. I would allow some sort of flexibility, but majority of the days I follow the same structure. Then I have a process in there to make sure that I can scale it and keep repeating it on a daily basis, because that requires some process. And the discipline to do it. Every day, when I get up, I say, oh my God, I'm already successful. I'm a movie producer. I'm not going to work hard. And you don't have the discipline, right? So you have the discipline. You get up every day and wake up and excited and energized. And maintaining that sort of discipline has allowed me to come this far. So to me, I would attribute to that. Then obviously, as you can see, I work hard. I don't take anything for granted. And I try to, start every day as a new day. And most importantly, I don't consider whatever I have done before. I don't even put it into my head. I said, I'm just a new person. I'm starting again new. So every day I think I'm a startup. And so I keep that mindset. So that way, even if I become successful, it doesn't come to my head. So I'm just like you guys. That's it. Only thing that you guys are listening and I'm speaking. That's the only difference. But the journey, we are all the same. That's what I believe, and that's what keeps me going.
Great, sir. Great, sir. Thank you for the valuable words.
Yes,
really great
no
day
problem.
for us, and helpful
Yes.
for having you on board, sir. Thank you.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
We had very interesting questions from the audience, sir, and today was a fantastic lecture.
Okay.
And all thoroughly enjoyed. And we did not have enough time to speak on the first day of our meeting. And you promised that you will be back after a week for a lecture. And I think you got busy. So after so long, after February, we are meeting today. So thank you
Yes.
for this session to our students, sir, for enlightening our students.
No
I
problem.
hope we have more questions. So I'll collect the questions and send to you. And if possible, at your free time, you just give a video reply, and we'll add to this video and we'll release in our CED YouTube channel.
No problem.
That's my
No
request.
No problem. I will do that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Sir, we have
Thank you so much.
session
Wish
and
you
we
our
are
days all good luck. Best wishes. Enjoy. Life is so short. Make it worthwhile.
thank you,
All
sir.
right.
Thank you for
Thank
this
you.
message.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Bye bye, sir. Good day. Good day. Shaktivel?
ஹலோ மேம், கோகுல் பேசுறேன் மேம்.
Nirmala.
கோகுல் மேம்.
கோகுலா.
எஸ்
சரி
மேம். இங்க
மீட்டிங் எண்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாம்.
சாரி மேம், இப்போ நீங்க தான் ஹோஸ்டா இருக்கீங்க.
ஓகே ஓகே.
ஸோ சக்திவேல் அவரும் எங்க இல்ல, சத்யா அவரும் இல்ல.
ஓ அப்படியா? சரி.
இப்போ நீங்க தான் ஹோஸ்டா இருக்கீங்க. ஸோ நீங்களே எண்ட் பண்ணிடுறீங்களா?
I didn't notice that I was made as host.
Just now I made you as host, ma'am.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Students, we have one more session. கொஞ்சம் பேர் தான் இருக்கீங்க. How to think an idea அப்படிங்கறத பத்தி ஒரு செஷன் நம்ம people தான் எடுக்க போறாங்க. So it will be by tomorrow, Saturday. சரியா? So morning 11 to 12 தான் இருக்கும். So I will get back to you with information in the WhatsApp group. Okay? So please watch the WhatsApp group space. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Bye. Bye for everyone.
Sir.